one of the biggest conversion killers for e-commerce websites is load times. I've talked about Crown and Port in a previous video, but I wanted to bring up their website to show you how unoptimized it is. Now, I just want to clarify that they still get a hell of a lot of sales, but that mainly comes down to their Facebook marketing campaigns are absolutely brilliant. So I'll do another video on this talking through how you can have a look at your competitors' adverts on Facebook. It's called Facebook Ad Library. You can just Google it; it would bring it up. But I wanted to talk about this website in specific because yes, they do convert a hell of a lot, but they also send a hell of a lot of traffic to the website. So if I take a quick look on this website called analyse.speedbooster.com. I'm going to leave it in the description because it's really, really useful. You pop in the URL that you want to check, and it takes about 30 seconds to around a minute. Now, if we jump back, because I just had something loaded there, you can see that the total weight for that page is 19.7 megabytes. That's nearly 20 megabytes. Now, on a desktop computer or a laptop, if you're connected through either Ethernet or you're close to the router, it's not going to take a lot of time to load. But it's quite deceptive in that sense because obviously you're going to be doing the editing of the Shopify site most likely on a laptop or a computer. But in reality, the majority of your users, especially if you're advertising on Facebook, they're going to be on mobile. They'll either be on Wi-Fi or they're going to be on slow 3G and potentially 4G connections. So either way, a 20 megabyte web page is just terrible. Or rather not like, what I mean to say is, yes, they get a lot of sales, but like I said, yes, they send a lot of traffic to their website. So it kind of offsets that. Kylie Jenner's website, incredibly successful, incredibly poorly optimized. It gets to a point where if you send in enough traffic to it, you honestly don't need to optimize the website. But for virtually every single person who's watching this video, you're going to need to optimize your website. So that's enough babbling. I'll tell you how to do it. So the biggest way, or the quickest way to save on wait times is to reduce the image size. Now, there's a really, really helpful tool. I believe it was actually created by Google when they started to look into AMP pages and making websites load faster. It's called Squoosh.app. I'm going to leave it in the description. It's really, really good. You're going to select an image, upload that image, and then by default, it's going to knock off about 25% of the quality, but it's going to look virtually the same through lossless compression. Now, once you do that, you can actually resize the image because a lot of people will compress the image and use like tiny JPEG or tiny PNG, and they'll still be left with an image that's 1 or 2 megabytes, and a lot of people just don't know how to combat that. Now, one of the reasons why I like to use Squoosh, it's incredibly easy to resize images. So Shopify Analyzer actually talks about this. So if we go back onto Crown and Paul's website, they've got a couple of images here, product images. Now, Shopify Analyze is telling you that 4 of those images are oversized. So if they're oversized, it's suggesting that your image is over 960 pixels on mobile and over 1,500 pixels on desktop. Now, as a general rule of thumb, reduce your images so they're about 900 pixels in height. I believe it's height. One of them, either height or width. You're going to see it's the first option on Squoosh. Now, what you want to be careful of, if it's a poor image to start with and you start resizing it and dropping the quality, you're going to notice that it's going to absolutely crush the quality. So use a good picture, as you always should, but make sure to use a tool like Squoosh or Compress or Die or Tiny JPEG. And I would suggest using Squoosh because you can resize the images so easily. So that's resizing images. You're going to get really quick wins there. You're either going to shave off like a second or 2 off your load time there. It's really, really easy to get that done. Now, the next thing is using an app called Hyperspeed or Plugin Speed. Plugin is actually easier to find on the Shopify App Store than Hyperspeed, but I prefer Hyperspeed. They do virtually the exact same thing, but Hyperspeed is actually cheaper. Now, one thing I want to touch on, it says $39 a month and a 7-day free trial. First off, that's not right. In reality, it's about, I think it's $29 or $27 as of recording this. So ignore this price tag. You have a 7-day free trial. They don't block any features from being used within the trial. If you add the app to your store, all you need to do is, it takes about 10 or 15 minutes. They do something called Minification. I don't want to get too much into Minification because you can actually do it for free if you have a look at the resources on GitHub. But having an app to do it and just paying the app developers to do it, it's just so much easier. You don't have to worry about messing up your theme. So what you want to do is you want to install the app, and the minification basically removes any white space within the code. So whilst it looks nice, but if you go to edit the code on a Shopify theme, it looks really nice and a bit complicated, but minification removes that white space. Now, in reality, it's only going to save a couple of kilobytes off the file, but in terms of making the website run faster, it's a brilliant, brilliant tool. And unfortunately, Shopify is one of those web builders, web page builders that in reality, they make slow sites pretty much. It's just the way it's built up. I presume it's to do with the JavaScript, but don't quote me on that. I know that if you use another builder like Ecwid, that's incredibly slow because it has to load the whole library using JavaScript. But I won't go into that because that's incredibly boring. So use a tool called Hyperspeed Advanced Speed. Again, I'm going to link it in the description so you can find it straight away and install it. Mess around with the free trial. Make sure that once you've actually made the changes that everything works still, like the add to cart and your formatting hasn't gone strange, because any app that messes with your CSS or messes with the like JavaScript minification potentially has the potential to ruin the look of the website. So it's important that you go and check those things, which it will prompt you to do anyway. So there's no real excuse to look past that. But if there is a problem, it's very, very, very easy to fix. They make it very easy too. Now, if I'm honest, if you already have a reasonably optimized website, you're probably not going to notice much of a difference. Then it's a question of, is it worth the money? Potentially. I've shown people the app before and it shaves off literally 2 or 3 seconds, and then I've shown people the app and it's actually added on time. So it's a case by case basis, and that's the reason why they offer you free trial. They don't charge you straight up front because they know that potentially it could go the opposite way, and it depends on the theme a lot of the time. So the next thing is Plugin, which is another development team who create an app called Plugin. They do the exact same thing basically. They've actually got an article. It covers the fastest free Shopify themes. Now, I'm going to make another video talking about free Shopify themes versus paid Shopify themes, because a lot of gurus tell you that free Shopify themes are adequate. And whilst they are, I don't believe it's the right thing to do. So I'll do another video on that. It's a completely different topic. Now, I was actually looking for Revere's article, and I'll make sure to link it in the description, because Revere actually talk about not just free themes, but they talk about paid themes as well. The theme that I'm using is actually a reasonably slow theme because it has a lot of animations. So I would tend not to use that. The theme I use is Prestige. I've also used Impulse, which is quite a slow theme. If you want a fast theme, simply use Debut and use some apps that are quite light, and you're going to have a really fast website. It's just not going to look that great. So either way, this is a really helpful article that talks about like Brooklyn, Simple, Minimal, all the Shopify free themes, and how they're incredibly fast. Some of them look better than others, but nonetheless, I'm going to leave the article in because it's really, really useful. Now, one thing that Hyperspeed does, just like Plugin does, is they use link preloaders. Now, if you don't want to pay the price tag of $29, $39, whatever it is, for Hyperspeed or Plugin, you want to get a free link preloader. Now, what a preloader does, there's so many different apps to do it, and a lot of them try and charge you a little bit of money. You don't need to. There's loads of free ones out there. What it does is when your customer, especially on a desktop, goes to click on basically if they move the mouse onto the product link or an image or whatever, in the back end it's going to start loading that link before they've clicked on it. Now, on mobile, the way they get around this, because you can't hover, is that you link it through your Google Analytics, and it'll learn over time which are the most common products that people are clicking on, or at least that's my understanding of it. But nonetheless, link preloaders aren't a make it or break it. They're not going to make a huge difference, but it's always nice if you can speed up your website, especially for a customer on a mobile. If they want to buy on the first interaction, you want it to be fast so they're not waiting around, because on the first interaction you're doing the most convincing you can do. And obviously, if your website's faster and having a website having a fast website leads to more conversions, it's going to save you a little bit of money on the retargeting side, because if you have your retargeting set up correctly, you're not going to retarget customers who bought. Anyway, different video. So basically, get a link preloader. I'm not going to say which one's the best because they literally do exactly the same thing. There's lots and lots of free ones on there. As you can see, there's 25 free ones that are showing up. So have a look on there and use a link preloader. So that is pretty much it. There is still quite a few things you can do, but if you want quick results, use a link preloader, use another app like Plugin or Hyperspeed, and that's going to minify the JavaScript, compress your images, and also has a built-in link preloader in there. And then the third thing you can do to get a quick win is to resize and compress your images using something like Squoosh. If you use Photoshop, you can actually save it for the web and compress it in there, but I much prefer to use Squoosh. It's so quicker. It's so much quicker. And if you really want to, if you're feeling really lazy, which is, there's nothing wrong with that, you can actually get an app that'll compress all of your images, but you're most likely going to have to pay around $9 or $10, and it's just easier, especially if you've only got like 10, 20, 30 products. You just go on Squoosh and actually manually compress them yourself, because then you're going to be able to control the quality of it. Anyway, that's kind of a long-winded way of saying all this, but it is really important to have a fast website. Don't let gurus tell you it's okay to have a slow website. It might be perfect for them, but they're probably plowing tens of thousands of pounds or dollars into their Facebook marketing, and essentially you can always get sales virtually if you've got a reasonably good or okay website and you're sending a horde of traffic there. It only makes sense that over time, with the more people go on there, the more sales you're going to get. So they're the steps. The last thing I'll leave you with is, if you don't want to bother with creating, like compressing images or anything like that, simply use the debut theme. As much as it pains me to suggest it, the debut theme is by far the fastest theme, second to Brooklyn, or on par with Brooklyn, sorry. So I would still suggest compressing the images, but if you want a quick win, just use a free theme like Brooklyn or Debut. So that was really long-winded, but hopefully that answers any questions that you have. If you do have some more questions, feel free to pop them in the comments. I reply to every single comment. And if you have any specific requests for another video and you have a question about drop shipping, Shopify stores in general, building a business, advertising, anything like that, pop it in the comments. I'm going to respond to it. Thanks very much, guys. Take care.